Alright, this one is not a very famous creepypasta, but this is the first creepypasta I've ever read. Yep, Team Fortress 2, Play Dead. I actually have no idea how long this is. It's not too long. Let's just dive right into it. My first creepypasta. I like the shared experience I had with the game of Team Fortress 2. It's about 9 p.m. on a Monday. It was about 9 p.m. on a Monday, I think, 2 weeks ago. I decided to play a multiplayer match on TF2. Um, well, yes, TF2 is a multiplayer game. I signed on and started up the automatic server selection for play mods. I felt like playing capture the flag, so I selected that option. My computer lagged a bit while it was searching for a server, which isn't abnormal for me, as my laptop was fairly distant from my router. Okay, so why would you bring it up? But eventually I found one. I've only been playing TF2 since a little after it became free, so I don't have very big server history, nor experience with server mods, or servers in general. Something seemed rather odd about this particular server. Main access server, the loading screen came up, the bar on the bottom right. As the bar got to about 70%, it jittered backwards and paused. It started going back and forth between 45 to 6%. That's pretty normal. Game froze for after a few moments, and I decided to force quit the game. I went to get something to eat, came back to the game. Decided to play for my server history. Notice a few new servers added to the list. TF, Capture the Flag, Play Dead, 905. Ooh. Except all that line. After the events I'm about to explain, the server disappeared from my list. So I'm going from unplayed memory here. Well, if you remember the progress of the percentage bar, loading bar, you have a pretty damn good memory. I don't remember that shit. I don't remember the load bar to a fucking server off the top of my head. Try a server similar to before the load bar jittered a bit. However, it managed to complete this time. Usually when you enter a custom server, there will be some sort of splash page to welcome you. Server and advertiser site or briefly explain the rules. In the case of the server, the entire splash page was black, so there was nothing on it. I started to think something was wrong with my graphics card with all the strange things that was happening, but decided to continue on. Game loaded. Set the pyro as my class. Oh. He fucking mains pyro? Oh no. I enter 2 Fort. For those of you who have never played Team Fortress, there's a brief explanation. The team base. You know what Team Fortress 2 is. You have two fairly large mills separated by a little lagoon and a bridge. It's about 2 Fort. And an underground network for the server. There are two teams of 6 upon my joining. Both teams became full. It was already mid progress, everything working normally. Our team, Blue, had already scored 1 point. We needed 2 more to win the game. The red team had 0 points. This particular game didn't have a time limit, and we seemed to be going back and forth for about 14 minutes with little to no progress. Occasionally, members from our team would type angry messages to the opposing team, accusing them of being cheat by having like 4 engineers in their flag room with turrets, making it almost impossible to get their flag, making the game seem endless. Up until now, things have been relatively normal until I started noticing that about 5 minutes I've been going around the level, not seeing a single one of my team members or any other players from. Wait, what? So it took you 5 minutes to realize that there were no other players in the game? It's Team Fortress 2, not fucking World of Warcraft. What the fuck? Yeah, I would have been weirded out 30 seconds in of this event happening. People were still talking, however, so it kind of took a while for it to sink in that I haven't seen anyone at all. Okay, sure. I thought that it had been some sort of lag problem, so I asked other players if they were having the same issue, and the general response was nope. One player said that they haven't seen me for a bit either. About 6 more minutes passed, and I started to grow pretty bored. I decided to make one more round throughout the level before I would find another server. Left our fort and fell into the lagoon in the middle of it, and proceeded to enter the red team's pipe network. After the little room underground in the middle of the tunnel, there's a really long pipe that leads to a staircase going up into the base at the end. I noticed an enemy scout was standing there, but he wasn't moving, just staying there, with his bat out and staring at me. A strange form of relief swept over me that the game started to work again. I charged at him and began to shoot with my flare gun. The shots went through him. Went right through him, and when I approached, he disappeared completely. Really bad lag, I thought to myself. I ascended the staircase and then entered the base. A strange static sound started to replace the other game sounds. I made my way throughout their base. And as I got closer to the flag room, the static got louder and louder until I couldn't hear anything else in the game at all. This is when things started to get weird. Really weird. Really? It was pretty fucking weird earlier. I asked if anyone else heard the static, not to receive any reply. No one said a word since I entered the enemy scout. So I saw the enemy scout in the pipe tunnel. Managed to get to the room adjacent to the flag room with 2 halls going into it, and I could hear some sort of murmuring behind the static. So I went down one of the halls and turned the corner. I noticed that there was no flag room. It was plain black, like the hall led into the game's void, or all the textures and lighting were reduced to 100% black. I shot a couple of times and bullets landed as if there were halls there, so I entered the room anyway. I saw the flag and picked it up and turned around to leave. There were no halls. Everything was black. The UI was still up on the screen. It said I had their flag, but there was nothing to the level, and all traces of the level had disappeared. Go ahead and show you this little photo of, well, Scary Scout. And apparently, the game, this is where the scout's supposed to be, but I don't see him. Okay. Try everything to get an answer after explaining my problem. No response. I stood in the room for lack thereof for about 3 minutes. Again, with the very specific time stamps. So suddenly the game froze and the game ended. But the message didn't say anyone won or lost, but the announcer's voice was all distorted. Scoreboard was broken. Loading screen quickly came up and said, downloading Playdead 0090. Or something along that line. It took about 17 minutes. Alright, come on, Sonic.exe. Get off my... I'm not making a video about you. 17 minutes to download. It was a really big file. When it was finished, a black server screen came up again. I went through the screens and selected Spy. The level loaded into something completely indescribable. I tried to save a screenshot, but every picture I tried to get said error. And print screen didn't work. The level looked rather black and white and very glitchy. The textures on the walls were kind of like 8-bit blocks, but really distorted. It was almost like playing a 3D version of a static screen on TV. For those of you too young, talking about static screen, you know, like whenever TV can't, we have cable and TV can't decipher any signals, so this comes back with like staticky and it flickers around. That's what it looked like. I went through the level and asked everyone, what is this map? There was no response again. I checked the player list, and other than my name, everyone else was listed as I am dead 1, I am dead 2, and 3, and etc. I never covered anything like this before, other than some prank games people made for fun, hacks along the lines. That Majora's Mask one, is he talking about Ben Drowned? So eventually I get to that one. But this is an online game with what I thought were secure servers. I decided to give it a few more minutes to explore the level, which was really large maze, very oddly shaped tunnels. There was no sound effects whatsoever. Nothing I did caused a sound. I eventually came to a very long tunnel with what I imagined was the middle of the level. The tunnel had darkness at the map and seemed almost endless. As I was walking for at least a minute on the direction of no change in the map, I decided to turn around and go back, thinking the map was glitched. The moment I turned my camera around, I saw the enemy scout I saw earlier, except something was very wrong with it. His eyes were black. His left arm was rather deformed and bent in impossible directions. His legs reminded me of a crab. I almost jumped out of my seat at sight and typed, what the fuck is going on? I hurried in the chat log, but there was no response. I stood there, stared down the strange scout. After several moments, the other players started talking, but all that appeared was corrupted. Garbage text. The scout quickly approached me in a sudden though irregular fashion, and I heard a very, very loud burst of static. All of a sudden, it kicked me out of the server. I checked the server, and it was gone from my history. Actually, I immediately shut the game off and haven't played it since then. I think it was some sort of prank, but it was pretty creepy, and game hacks will usually creep me out. Update July 13th, 2011. After posting this, I decided to play the game again. I went into my server history and found a King of the Hill map, but I noticed that Playdead was back. This time it had 0 out of 16 players. Went to the server. I before loaded normally without any issues. It was T2 for it, like when I entered it before, but there were no other players on the server. Nothing seemed really out of place, and I walked around the map for a while. Found nothing. Finding nothing. The only thing I noticed was strange was that I would hear the sound effects glitch out every now and then with selected the character. There was a static noise that kept repeating, and when I went into the tunnel area, I thought I heard footsteps. Should have came off a few minutes later, and I will try again another time. Maybe I'll be able to get some footage, and that's the story. Not much of a traditional story. It's very much like a blog report of their encounter. Yes, my first one. It feels very organic, how or like real, how it's written like it was like a blog post. But yeah, my first creepypasta. I'll always remember it. It's not that scary or that well written. It's very standard, but yeah.